Hi, my name is Anita, and I've started teaching library art programs in my area. I'm actually living in Doylestown, Pennsylvania,
Mhm.
and we are currently obviously not teaching due to COVID-19. But when I was teaching, which happened in September of 2019.
Mhm.
I met Lisa virtually through a Facebook group,
Yeah.
and that started it all.
Mhm.
I went to school for art. I have my BFA from Rowan University. I started out at Moore College of Art and Design in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania,
Mhm.
and kind of got sidetracked and started doing house cleaning when I was in college,
Mhm.
and also worked at some administrative jobs. So I really never went forward with my art, kind of went to mainly making money. And
Yeah.
I was sort of afraid to do things with my art. But
Mhm.
now that I'm in my late 40s, I'm interested in getting back into it. I've sort of felt that call. So
Mhm.
that's how I got into starting the library programs.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you ever think you would be a teacher?
I never thought I would be a teacher.
Mhm.
So I went to school for illustration and painting.
Mhm.
Those were my major was illustration, my minor was painting. And originally I thought I was going to be a fine artist.
Mhm.
So I didn't take hardly any computer classes. And this was in 1992.
Mhm.
So, all the computer stuff was just really revving
Yeah.
up, but I had
Mhm.
no interest. And I didn't have an interest in becoming a teacher. I remember people saying, well, maybe you should teach as a backup, but I had
Mhm.
no interest. Years later, I also became a nanny to twin boys
Mhm.
and baby twin boys, and
Yeah.
found through teaching them day-to-day things and then starting to do creative things is I had a lot of fun. So that was
Yeah.
sort of my introduction to
Mhm.
teaching in a
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I have a similar story. Never thought I would teach. People told me, "Oh, you should do teaching as a backup." Never wanted to do it. And then I think once I had my kids, then I don't know, I just started to become more comfortable with the idea. I was around kids more.
right.
So, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think it's good for people to know too, like that you don't need to have a teaching degree to teach on a freelance basis.
And I remember you saying that
Yeah,
from the start. And sorry, I'm
it's okay.
getting COVID updates.
I'm gonna go like this. Whoop. Okay.
Thank you. So I remember you saying from the start that I
Yeah.
didn't have to be a teacher, because I remember that being my concern. I
Mm.
have no teaching background except for a small stint that I did about a year ago that I talked about with you at a
Mm.
local um, program, a local store here that
Mm.
didn't really last in our area, but I was hired as the art teacher,
Mm.
sort of a craft art teacher.
Mm.
So that's also, I kind of dove into that and had some experience. And it helped that the owner was she'd been teaching for 11 years in the Pennsylvania school district
Mm.
uh, 11 years ago.
Mm.
So
So did she give you an idea of like what you should be doing and gave you tips in terms of teaching at her business?
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I watched her and asked her a lot of questions,
Mm.
and she was so at ease with it. My main concern, besides being comfortable,
Mm.
because I'm an introvert,
Yeah.
was how to get the kids to listen
Yeah.
and how to get them to be quiet and
Mm.
focus on me without
Mm.
yelling.
Yeah.
Not that I'm a yeller, but I didn't know how to do
Yeah.
that. And she was able to do it with a very soft speaking voice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still amazed that she can do that. I can't do it as well as she can, but
Yeah. I don't know if I'm there yet either. I mean, but like I said to you, it's so different in libraries versus being in the classroom.
for sure.
It just attracts a different audience, and every kid is sort of self-selected. They want to be there. They've, probably done art on their own time, so they're just more focused.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. For
A lot
sure.
different. Yeah. So what was it like the first class that you taught at a library? How did you
So
feel?
the first class, I'm trying to remember what I even taught. I was nervous, extremely nervous.
Yeah.
A week before, I had prepared everything, which was another learning curve for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sometimes a person, actually, I'm a person that does things last minute.
Okay.
And I have found you cannot do that
Mm-hmm.
when teaching.
Mm-hmm.
That was a learning curve for me.
Yeah.
So for the first one, luckily I had prepared everything. And it went well,
Mm-hmm.
surprisingly.
Yeah.
I remember thinking that I had to speak louder.
Mm-hmm.
So, some kids couldn't hear me. Um, and I remember not knowing how to answer certain questions, like when a kid would finish early. And even though, Lisa, you and I had talked about
Yeah.
that, I had forgotten sort of my plans for that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there was a lot of nervousness on the
Yeah.
first time,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
the librarian was thrilled,
Mm-hmm.
which gave me confidence.
Yeah.
And I remember, when I was packing up and getting into my car, I mean, it was like a high. And
Yeah.
thought,
Yeah.
I think I'm supposed to be doing this. And
Mm-hmm.
honestly, this is the first time in my entire life that I felt that with art.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a really nice feeling.
Yeah, I bet. I
Yeah.
bet. That's really cool. Yeah. So
Yeah.
how many kids did you have in that first class?
The first class was 15.
Oh, so you had a full class the first time.
It was a full class.
Wow.
So my max is 20.
Yep.
Um, and so that was a good class. It was 15.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was all girls except for one boy,
Yeah.
which also led me to start thinking, how can I start doing things that are not gender based or
Mm-hmm.
more inclusive?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I still think of it that way.
Yeah. That's really good because I know it is rare to get more boys than girls,
Yeah.
just in my experience in general. And I think the librarians appreciate it. They're always like, wow, a lot of boys showed up, or,
Yeah.
because we try to do that too. We stay away from flowers and things like
Yeah.
that.
Unicorns, flowers.
Yeah, unicorns, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all the girls want to do, or unicorns, yeah.
I say unicorns because a lot of, I did a lot of sort of instructed girly paintings when I was working for this company, uh,
Mm,
because it was, so basically it was birthday parties,
yeah.
doing art birthday parties, and it was for all girls, really. So,
Hmm.
and they would want unicorns and rainbows.
Yeah.
Um, I think one was a sloth.
Hmm.
A boy would like, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think you'll do birthday parties again? Are you thinking about branching out into other ways to teach and make money with teaching art?
Yes. So at this point, what I'm thinking, obviously, I still want to, continue with the library circuit. I love libraries. I wanted to be a librarian at one point, and
Yeah.
spoke with you about it about a year or so ago, a year ago.
Yeah.
Uh, it's just, excuse me, it's not the right time or
Hmm.
the right fit.
Yeah.
So I enjoy teaching in libraries.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to continue expanding my library base, but what I've also started doing is doing the painting, the instructional painting, sort of
Mm-hmm.
like sip and paint classes.
Right.
So I had my first one. Actually, I haven't really had one with, you know, a beverage yet. That
Mm-hmm.
was supposed to happen in March, but was obviously canceled
Yeah.
due to COVID.
Right.
So there were plans for 4 of those to happen. So
Mm-hmm.
they've been put on hold. So I don't have any experience yet with that,
Yeah.
but I have done one similar class with kids
Mm-hmm.
at one of the libraries here. It
Mm-hmm.
was in January, and
Mm-hmm.
it was cocoa and canvas. So
Oh, right. Yeah, I remember that.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so I basically brought a hot water, like a hot water, uh,
Like a tea kettle?
like a tea kettle,
Yeah. Yeah.
and hot cocoa packets.
Yeah.
And so my max, like I said, is 20,
Mm-hmm.
and it was maxed. And then there were 5 people on the waiting list.
That's
So
really good.
yes, and everyone showed up except for one.
Yep.
So, and 2 of my waiting list people were actually waiting at the door, so we allowed them in, and I had
Mm-hmm.
an extra canvas, so that worked.
Yeah.
So that was a success,
Mm-hmm.
and I spoke to the librarian afterward about it, and she said anything with drinks or snacks is always popular.
Yeah. And
So,
was
and
that with teens or with kids? Sorry.
so it was kids and tweens.
Okay. Yeah.
So it wasn't teens yet,
Mm-hmm.
because then after doing that class, it sort of got me thinking, maybe I should try this with teens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I haven't done that yet.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll get there.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and the librarian suggested doing, since I had done a winter one, she
Mm-hmm.
said, like maybe, for instance, doing a summer one with iced tea, stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that,
Yeah.
to encourage enrollment.
Yeah.
So I'm going to plan for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I
Too.
can testify to that especially with teens, if you have snacks
Oh, really?
and something to drink, that gets them in the door every time. But we've never actually brought our own food. Usually, I mean, it depends on the library. I usually say we take a break in the middle, because usually with teens we do canvas painting, and
Right.
there's a break in the middle to let
Okay.
paint dry for the next layer.
That's
So we play
smart.
that game, sketch artist. And if the librarian has snacks or drinks, we let them know as a break, and if you have them, you can put them out. But not everybody does.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the
Oh,
librarians go all out with the food, and some just like put a bag of Oreos on the table and that's it. So, but it doesn't matter. Like, they scarf it all up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I noticed that. I did a Canvas class at one of the other libraries. Again, this was in, I believe, around the holidays.
Yeah.
And I had brought, I think, pretzels. And then the
Mm-hmm.
librarian actually had brought cookies and, I think, maybe juice or water.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing. People loved it, and,
Yeah.
said it was a lot of fun. And I think they were telling the truth, but I do think the snacks helped.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm not saying that it's all about the snacks, because it's not. Sometimes that's just like the hook to get them in the door.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, they know they're going to be doing art when they get in there and not just eating. And
Right.
they participate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about, after we talked, like the first time, like how you got started in contacting libraries and how that went. Because you had a little hiccup there in the beginning.
I did.
Yeah.
So the first library I tried to contact, so basically I had talked to you and, decided that I would do it through email.
Yep.
So I basically, got a list from, I looked it up on my computer, just typed in, libraries within, at the time I was doing, so 30 minutes within my area. I've since expanded it to 45 minutes.
Yep.
And may eventually go to an hour. But
Yep.
at that, it was 30 minutes. So I copied down all of the libraries. I made a spreadsheet and started calling them, actually, beforehand, so that I could get the names of the youth librarians and the adult librarians.
Yeah.
So that was a good learning curve too, because I learned that there were sometimes a lot of librarians at libraries, and then sometimes there was just one or two. So that was a learning curve just for me. So in my spreadsheet, I would put down, that this was the youth librarian or, the adult librarian. And everyone seemed pretty happy to talk to me and give out the information. So that was a good thing. So after I did that, I made the list and started emailing the libraries, basically saying, this is a new thing for me, but I have an art background. And I also included my resume and 3 reference letters. So I sort of treated it like a job.
Yeah. Yeah. That was really smart. That wasn't something that I suggested. You just sort of did that. And I think, even though you hadn't taught in libraries before, it gave you credibility.
Yeah.
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 That was a smart move.
And I remember you saying, you sort of, once you're in with one library, it sort of starts to build from there.
Yeah.
And since I didn't have, I didn't know anybody at libraries, I thought maybe that might be a good way for them to look and see. So I sent the email to about 50 libraries.
That's a lot.
And, yeah. And had a response within 3 days. One of my first, it might have even been 2 days, actually. And I actually received a call on my cell phone. So, because I had included my phone number and my email.
Yep.
And so I returned her call, and this was in September. And he said it was perfect timing. They were starting to, book for the fall. So that was the first one. And then others followed suit pretty much the rest of that week. And in the following 2 to 6 weeks, I would say it was sort of staggered, but the first 2 to 3 weeks, I probably received between 15 and 17 emails.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and I remember being blown away and really excited. Every day I would sort of get another email from a librarian and think, oh, they want me.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And so I should also preface this with, I've never done a lesson plan before. I basically, spoke to you about, what do I even teach? How do I, I'm an artist, but I'm not a working artist at this point.
Yeah.
I hadn't done this, much less doing my own art. I had taken lessons again about 3 years ago, but then stopped. So I wasn't even really doing art per se. So I was nervous about how to even go about teaching. And so you suggested, look at some ideas, look to see what other libraries are doing, but don't exactly follow what they're doing.
Yeah.
So I basically stayed up, I think, for 2 or 3 days and researched on Pinterest and other places and looked online at libraries to try to figure out what might be popular. Because I have no idea.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't work with kids.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Even different, the other thing I didn't know about was what to teach at certain grade levels.
Right.
What they were able to do. So, but going forward, it was a good test. So I continued with, receiving those emails and booking jobs.
Yeah, I mean, you had a really great response. I mean, that's pretty incredible to send 50 emails and get 17 responses.
Yes.
Like in sales, if you were doing sales, those are really good odds that all those people wanted to book with you.
Now I've realized that now. I mean, I wasn't keeping track of anything. It was just, the email would come in, I would get excited, and then figure out how to now buy for those workshops, because I had never done that either.
Right.
Buy supplies.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. So it was definitely a learning curve, but so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Yeah, it was exciting because we touched base through the whole process just to talk about what you were going to do. And
Yes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing without Lisa and Janelle. I've had some contact with Janelle as well. Most of my contact was with you. So would not be as far as I am in this process without you, because there really is, I think there's a good way to do it. And, how you showed me was, it worked.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, no, I mean, it's been great because you kind of proved our idea, like our business model, because we had done it, but I hadn't really shown anyone else to do it. So you really proved that it works, what we do, that it'll work for someone else in another location.
Yes.
And it was really cool to see it evolve, and that you had so much success, and that, it went really well. But I think you did a lot of research on your own to get to the point where you were comfortable showing up the first time.
It's so much fun. And it still continues to be a learning curve, but according to each project I do, but I'm not so scared of it anymore. And I've gotten more comfortable now speaking in front of kids and adults, which is big for me. So because I never thought, one of the reasons there were a few reasons why I didn't want to teach years ago, but one of them was, I didn't think I could get up in front of people and, also talk about and direct them on how to do something.
Yeah, because like you said, you're an introvert. And I mean, I am too. Like I need my social time, but I also really like being quiet. But I think a lot of artists are like that. If you're going to be an artist, you're going to spend a lot of time alone working on your art. So I think a lot of artists are kind of in the same boat, but you don't need to have like a big personality to get up there and teach people. You just need to be yourself and have the passion and the information to give them. And that's, that's what they need, is someone to guide them through the process. And some people are going to respond really well to someone who's a little more low key too.
I agree. The other thing I've learned too is, you're right, there are certain kids and even people that respond better to more low key. And I've learned how, or I'm learning how, excuse me, to recognize that. So that's fun too, because I have actually learned I enjoy, I've always enjoyed talking to people. So I consider myself an extroverted introvert. It's just when it comes down to the focus being on me completely is where I start to go, uh-oh, I have to actually sound like I know what I'm talking about and not be nervous.
So how many workshops have you taught so far since it hasn't been a year yet because we're talking in April of 2020. So it'll
Correct.
be a year in September. So how many have you taught now? I can't keep track.
Yeah. So I would say I've probably taught maybe 20.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've taught 20 workshops at this point.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. On average.
Yeah. So, I mean, after 20, you know, you're broken in, you know,
Yeah.
kind of what you're doing.
Yes.
And honestly, every teacher, there's always a learning curve because, especially in the classroom, you always get that student who's going to challenge you
Yeah.
behavior-wise. You don't get that so much in the libraries, but I really think there's always something you can be learning, which is what makes it exciting, is there's always some new project you can try or some teaching technique you can try. So you never really stop learning, and you can just change things as much as you want or as little as you want because it's your business. You can do what you want.
That's what's exciting
Yeah.
is, I love learning. I've always loved learning, education. It's why I'm surprised that I didn't get into this earlier when I was
Yeah.
young, because
Yeah.
I've always loved being part of, I worked at a music school for years, and even though it wasn't art, it was a community music school. So it wasn't in a typical school setting.
Yeah.
It's involved all of that, and I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting that years later I've gotten into it in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love it, and it's something that I feel like I could do even into retirement, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
um, so from this I started talking to other people as well, yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and then other people had responded in this Facebook group.
Right.
So I started kind of getting information from others too, doing workshops in other venues, which would be my next step.
Yeah.
Um, especially starting doing the paint and sips is
Mm-hmm.
where I was originally, going with this.
Yeah.
So, that's on the horizon, but
Mm-hmm.
definitely the libraries are my favorite.
Yeah.
As you had mentioned, people want to be there. I found they're so excited
Mm-hmm.
afterward, and
Mm-hmm.
they thank me, which is a really nice,
Mm-hmm.
um,
You're
a
talking
really
about the kids or the librarians are excited and
uh,
thank you.
so both, but it's
Yeah.
mostly the kids and the adults, which
Yeah.
I don't know if you always get that being a teacher in a school
Yeah.
system.
I mean, I teach at a Catholic school, so I think there's a little more emphasis on others and
Got it. Yeah.
treating others kindly. So I do have a lot of kids who say thank you as they leave the room, but I don't know if it's like that in every teaching situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a nice perk,
Mm-hmm.
I think, of feeling like, you feeling like, you're doing something for someone else,
Yeah.
and they're fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the library pays you, but the class is offered for free.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I'm sure you're getting some kids who probably wouldn't have the chance to do any other kind of extracurricular art lesson. So, it's probably kind of a big deal for some kids.
Yes. Yes. I've even had some parents interested in art lessons.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I can't say that has come to fruition.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe in the future,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm quite happy, teaching at the library. It's, the other great thing about teaching at the libraries, which you mentioned to me early on, is that the librarians do all of the preparation as far as putting it out there. So the
Right.
advertising.
Yeah.
You know, which is amazing. And oh,
Oops, I just lost you.
sorry.
I'm putting up my orange paper.
Sorry about
Woo.
Thank
Okay.
you. Sorry. My husband's phone is very active.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Much more.
okay. No big deal.
So, what I love about teaching in the libraries is the librarian does all of the work really behind the advertising,
Yeah.
you know, and so far since I've been doing this, I've gained some followers, honestly. I have one girl in particular that follows me from library to library.
Yeah. That's really
So
cool.
yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah.
And I haven't had to advertise except, you know, a little blip on, you know, my Facebook page,
Mhm.
or my Instagram page, but it's not, I haven't done paid ads for libraries because it's not needed.
Yeah.
So that's nice.
Yeah. That's a big plus. And I think, you know, we're starting to dip our toes in the water, the paint and sip type thing. And
Yes.
you definitely have to spend more money because you have to do ads.
Yes.
I mean, there's a potential to make more money because you're charging people per head, not as like a group fee at the library.
Correct.
So, but you do have to pay for advertising, which is more
Yeah.
work and more outlay. But, you know, like we talked before, it's good to be doing different types of classes in different venues just to diversify where your money's coming from.
I agree.
I think it makes your business more stable,
Yes.
you know? Yeah.
Yes.
And you had already owned a business before this, so you already had some experience with being a freelancer.
Yes, that's true. And I never
Yeah.
thought that it would come in handy. So I house clean. I've been doing it
Yeah.
since I was 23. I'm 47.
Mhm.
So it's been a long time.
Mhm.
You know, but you know, and I enjoy it,
Mhm.
but the art is really my passion.
Right.
So you know, but it I have to say it did help already sort of being a freelancer
Mhm.
in, you know, before.
Yeah.
Even though there was a learning curve, you know, knowing that I sort of had that background, I suppose that helped.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you didn't have to figure out that it was different doing your taxes and that you had
Yes.
to keep good records, and you already knew how to do all that and keep track of your mileage, you know, all that kind of stuff that
Yes.
goes along with it,
Yeah. Yeah.
which isn't too hard to learn, but it's good. You had that under your belt at least, and then all you had to think about was the teaching.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
do
So
you have like a highlight, like your best class, and then do you have one that you wish had gone better that
yes.
hold on for a second, I just had something pop up on my window while I was
Okay.
doing this. Hold on. Weird. Okay, I got rid of it. Orange. Okay, maybe I should start over.
Okay.
So do you have a class that was sort of like your do you have a class that was your high point and one that maybe didn't go as well? And, you know, what did you learn from the class that didn't go as well? Because everybody has that class.
Yes.
That'll help other people to hear, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'll start with my low point for the one class. So
Yeah.
it would have to be my first introduction to the STEM or STEAM.
Mm-hmm.
So I had been reading about this, you know, a lot of, you know, artists and schools doing this. So I
Mm-hmm.
thought, oh, I'm going to try this.
Yeah.
So I had one program where the kids were ages, I think it was up to age 11 and age 12, I
Mm-hmm.
think was ages, I believe, 8 to 12.
Mm-hmm.
So it was basically during the Halloween season. So it was making a pumpkin bot.
Mm-hmm.
So a pumpkin robot.
Yeah.
So it's basically, you know, taking these mini fake pumpkins
Mm-hmm.
and making robots out of them
Mm-hmm. And it was
with
the one that uses the toothbrush, right?
the
With the
toothbrush,
battery pack. Yeah.
battery pack.
Mm-hmm.
So I had seen this, on a Pinterest or
Yeah.
something. And I thought, oh, that sounds easy and fun.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that I would be able to, get the supplies pretty quickly. So there was a learning curve in that, in having to order the supplies overseas.
Yeah.
And then, so when that happened, it was not going to come in time for this workshop.
Mm.
So, so money wise, I would say the planning was not good. I ended up spending way more than what I was getting paid.
Yeah.
So there was a learning curve there, to basically order supplies earlier rather than
Yeah.
later, and check out where, what's involved. So I hadn't
Mm-hmm.
really done that with this particular program.
Yeah.
So there was that learning curve. And
Mm-hmm.
then when it came time for the actual workshop,
Mm-hmm.
there were parts that were involved, were batteries, the flat batteries,
Oh, yeah.
and wires
Mm-hmm.
that I never worked with before. Luckily, I had my husband to help,
Yeah.
who actually really had fun with it,
Uh-huh.
and has decided that if I do more STEAM programs, that he
Mm-hmm.
wants to take part in them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't
So
know that. That's cool.
he loved it. It was his
Yeah.
favorite project. So my
Right.
husband helps me.
Yeah.
So, at the workshop, we had put together some of these in order to save time on the part that is where the kids decorate the pumpkins. So it was, we had paints, we had,
Mm-hmm.
fake eyeball, those things.
Yeah.
So, and the program was an hour long. And what had happened was the kids really never got to the decorating part,
Mm-hmm.
because some of the bots weren't working.
Mm-hmm.
So I had myself, my husband, and the librarian working with, I think there was about 15 or 16 kids. So
Yeah.
we had a big turnout.
Yeah.
And a lot, I would say half of the kids, the
Mm-hmm.
bots weren't working for
Mm.
one reason or another.
Yeah.
So
It's like the worst feeling.
I was going into panic mode, and the librarian's helping one kid, my husband's helping another, I'm
Yeah.
trying to help, and in the meantime, kids are going, mine's not working, and
Yeah.
so that was, in my eyes, it felt like a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
The librarian actually thought that, she said, it was fun, and she enjoyed it, and
Yeah.
thought it was a good learning curve,
Uh-huh.
and wasn't as much of a disaster as how I looked at it.
Right. Right.
So
Which is
that's a good
good to
thing.
know, that, because she was really nice about it. I think you felt bad, from what I remember, but
Yes,
she thought it went fine. So sometimes, like, what we think it is really
yeah,
isn't how the other person perceives it,
yes, yes.
So,
So that was my low one, but I took, there was a big learning curve from that I took with these STEAM projects.
mm-hmm.
That is a learning curve,
Mm-hmm.
and that I, definitely need to, do ones that I'm a little more comfortable with at this point,
Yeah.
before moving on to doing something that's a little harder, not so easy for me.
Yeah. Well, I think, yeah, it was the parts, some of them weren't working right. And then you have to connect everything. Then there's the art part. And yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces in that lesson.
Yes. So that was the one that, I kind of wished, I had been sucked up into a black hole at the time, but I'm actually glad I had experience and it went
Yeah.
well. And I was obviously asked back. So
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a good sign.
yes,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would say one of my favorite ones. Um, there were a few. It's actually been some of the Canvas ones,
Mm-hmm.
because I've gotten quite a good response in that both adults. So I've taught both adults, which was also a different learning curve,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and kids and teens.
Yep.
And they all seem to have a lot of fun when they're painting.
Yeah.
Um, so I would have to say those have been my most popular
Mm-hmm.
as far as even attendance wise, that
Yeah.
people seem to want to paint. And I was
Mm-hmm.
really surprised at that because I
Mm-hmm.
thought they would think it was boring, or I don't know. So
Yeah.
I've gotten more into the canvas paintings
Mm-hmm.
because of, and it's also something I enjoy. So I have
Right.
to say, you know, I started out with being more project based,
Mm-hmm.
and those have been good too. But I'm really, the ones that stand out are the canvas paintings.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say those are my most favorite,
Yeah.
and I explore doing a little more with canvas paintings.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen some people painting with things like neon colors or glow in the dark
Oh,
colors.
yeah. Yep.
So I may be implementing, something like that for maybe
Yeah.
Halloween, or
Yeah. That's perfect for Halloween. Yep.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. It's a good
yeah,
idea.
yeah. So yeah, I would have to say the canvas paintings for me have been very popular.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. People love them. They can't seem to get enough.
yeah, yeah, and I know that there's a whole other world with, we were talking about the paint and sips.
Yeah.
And I remember when those started years ago,
Mm-hmm.
probably at least 5 years ago, at least in this area. I
Yeah.
know different areas have different success with certain projects.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's still going strong. There's actually
Yeah.
businesses that are doing whole, making an entire business out of
Yeah.
canvas paintings and the acrylic pours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm going to continue with the canvas paintings, but also, still get into the projects as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in terms of the time that's coming up now, because we're in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic,
Yes.
sort of, do you feel like you're going to pivot somewhat, or what are your plans going forward?
So my plans going forward are to start doing some virtual teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's using Zoom, from what I understand. There are some people that are doing like Facebook and Instagram lives.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how that would work
Yeah.
on an interactive class. So I don't think
Mm-hmm.
it works well for an interactive
Mm-hmm.
class. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Zoom is the way that I'm thinking of going.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my plan. This week, I plan on contacting librarians because at
Mm-hmm.
this point, my programs, as I'm sure everyone, has been canceled,
Yeah.
and nothing has really been rescheduled. It's just been sort of, the emails I have gotten are, this was a few weeks ago, obviously, are that things are being pushed back
Mm-hmm.
to June,
Right.
but there hasn't been any communication since
Mm-hmm.
then.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to take the initiative and start contacting librarians, and after I figure out how to do this virtually.
Yeah. Oops.
Yeah.
Oh, there goes my cat again. Sorry.
It's okay.
And for anyone who doesn't know, my cat has a paper plate around her neck because she's been chewing at her fur. Anyway, just to explain why there's a paper plate around her neck.
We have creativity isn't canceled in
Right.
in these times. And
I didn't want to go to the pet stores. I was like, all right. I looked it up on YouTube, and there you go.
I love it. I have to say the donut was one of my favorites.
Yeah, I painted it as a donut. Yeah, I do it though. I just do it for the picture, and then I have to take it off because she licks the plate. She has that instinct to lick, and I don't want her to lick the paint. So it's really just like a quick thing for my own entertainment.
Oh, that's funny.
And then I take it off.
I didn't know that. That's funny. Okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think that the librarians, contrary to what most people think, they're still working.
That's what I've realized because, so I'm on Instagram a lot more than Facebook, although right now I can't say that, right now I'm on both.
Yeah.
But I have seen a lot of story times happening in our area.
Yeah.
So, and I am starting to see, virtual programs very slowly. I think the other day I saw where there was one. But although that was a music program, so I haven't really seen where anybody's been teaching something, but I'm sure that will be the next step.
Yeah.
So that's my plan. I don't know how this affects libraries as far as budget wise.
Yeah. I think their budgets are going to be reduced.
Yeah.
Definitely, because, they get their money from the town and their friends' organizations, and that's all fundraising, the friends and book sales and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think it's going to be different when everything returns back to normal. But I think I said to you before, it's, if you want to get more jobs, it's going to be all about grants, writing grants.
Yes.
Either the librarian writes the grant or you offer to write the grant if you want to.
Yes.
And they're really not that hard to do. Once you write one, it's really just cut and paste into the next one. It's just keeping the documentation. Like, I have to be better at that. The organization of gathering everything and then sending it out. Every time I do it, I'm like, oh, it just seems like too much. But I think once I get a system down, I'll, because I want to keep doing what we're doing. So, I'll definitely write grants.
Well, absolutely. It's 8 years?
Yeah.
You said plus years?
Yeah, it's like 7 or 8 years, something like that.
Amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, I know. It's a bummer. We were having like our best year with bookings ever.
Yeah.
And
then
so we'll see what happens with the summer.
Yes.
We're just trying to roll with it, go virtual for a while.
Yes.
But it's not the same.
No, I agree. Yeah.
It really isn't, but it's better than nothing.
It is better than nothing. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think parents will be so grateful that someone is offering something that their kids want to do.
Yes.
And just to keep them busy for an hour.
Yes.
I can't even imagine what it's like to be a parent of a young child right now.
I can't either.
Yeah, it's just got to be tough.
Yeah. And I would imagine that the distance learning doesn't take as long as a regular school day.
I don't think so. Yeah. I will say that the class that Janelle and I just did, we did a test virtual class with kids, with 15 kids. It took an hour. And we thought it would take an hour, like in real life. We thought, all right, this will take an hour.
Yeah.
But how's it going to go? Is it going to be less time or more time? And it was an hour. So
wow.
That kind of was good to know. That was a big piece we were trying to figure out. Is how much time should we plan for? And an hour was enough.
That's great.
It was just about right. So I think it's harder to learn online. It takes more concentration. There's something about being in a room. You can just read different cues, and you can kind of look off to the side and still be listening. Everybody's different.
Yes.
So, yeah, it takes more concentration. So I think an hour is good.
Yeah.
2 hours, that's a lot.
Yeah. I don't know how people are. Oh my gosh, excuse me.
You got a cricket in your room?
I have my phone.
Yeah.
I was curious about that too. Going forward, my programs are, between 1 hour and 1.5 hours.
Yeah.
And some of the painting ones were 2 hours.
Yeah.
With a break in between, in between.
Mm-hmm.
So I was curious how that would work,
Mm-hmm.
virtually. Again, it's just a whole new
Yeah.
ball game, but I'm here for it. I mean, I figured, I dove into this, not knowing anything.
Right.
And so if this is the way things will be for, a while,
Mm-hmm.
I'm here for it. So,
Yeah.
and I think right now, we're working with the supplies we have and the kids, whatever they have at home. I guess going forward, I don't know what that will look like.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen some people that are doing the painting, the painting classes online. They actually make kits up of paint and all that. I don't know how I feel about that at this point. Right now, I'm not willing to do that. I feel like there's too much of a contagious curve. I don't know.
That makes me nervous too. I don't even know if it's legal to do that, if there's a shelter in place. But I think I see people who have their own studio doing that more for libraries. Like I talked to a librarian and she said that she was thinking about having like a pickup of materials, like a sort of a drop box. You stop by, you get what you need. But she said, I don't know, I have to ask my director. And she said, maybe we'll mail materials. But it's a lot of money to mail materials. I think it just makes it really cost prohibitive. Unless you were to drive it to people's houses. I don't know.
So that's what I have seen from some of the places around here is they're actually driving the kits there. So that's interesting. I wonder if DoorDash could get into this.
Yeah, really.
A whole new art world. We'll create an Uber for art supplies.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, that could be somebody's side hustle.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. Good idea.
I don't know. I just don't know how safe that is. Like what you're saying. I mean, and I don't know. You Lysol all the equipment. You can't Lysol everything. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that brings up liability issues. Who knows? But for now, we're just focusing on, here's the list and here's a few options in case you don't have what we're going to be using. And everybody just has to kind of roll with it. And
that's smart.
Yeah. But in the Facebook group, I'm going to share, we did a Google Form survey, and we asked the people on our email list, we had like a checklist, like what supplies do you have, and then what do you have in your kitchen? Because you can use a lot of stuff that you have in the kitchen. Like you can make paint with food dye and different materials.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, I'll share that in the group just so you can get an idea of what people have, because I know what I have, but I don't know what anybody else has in their house. Like for a little while, I was thinking, what happens if they only have copy paper and we want to paint?
Yes.
Copy paper stinks for painting. It just wrinkles up. It looks terrible.
Yes.
So I thought, all right, well, maybe we can do paintings on paper plates.
Right.
But it turns out people don't have paper plates that are uncoated at home, at least according to the list that, the survey that we did, that they don't have uncoated paper plates.
It's absolutely. I
so kind of, yeah. So hopefully that will help just figure out what we're going to use.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. So anyway, Anita, it was so much fun meeting you sort of in person, because really all we've done is talk on the phone.
Exactly.
Previous to this, yeah. So it was really fun having the conversation. I just love how, you kept going, even though I know you felt nervous and you weren't really sure.
Yes.
And you had your doubts.
Yes.
That you just kept going, and it's really worked out so well for you.
Yes.
And I'm just really happy that that we met and we're able to do this together.
Same here. Thank you. And I'm grateful for all you and Janelle have, given to me and giving to other people, that this is absolutely doable.
Yeah.
and it's lucrative.
Mhm.
You know, if you're looking for a side hustle or even a main hustle eventually, I mean, you know, I know that you'll be speaking with Doris.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
Yep. She's teaching 150 workshops a
Amazing.
year, and she teaches full time.
That's
I
amazing.
know. Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm you know, excited to hear about that. But yeah, I'm gonna go forward in my, you know, neck of the world, and hope to grow it.
Yeah.
I don't know how big, but you know, we'll see. But
Mhm.
I'm thankful. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. It's been great talking.
Thanks for having
All
me
right.
today.
All right. Well, be well. See you later.
You too. Thanks, Lisa.
Bye.
Bye.